Hi, folks. Welcome back to Lights On, a Neuromoms Collective podcast. My name is Erin Palmer, and I am one of the co-hosts of this podcast. And today we are on to part 2 of our conversation with MacKenzie. MacKenzie is the daughter of my co-founder, Amanda Ream. And they together got through a terrible TBI. And this is part 2 of discussing MacKenzie's recovery, specifically the experience of not being able to advocate for herself while she was in a hospital environment and the comfort and safety that she found in her mother. Stick with us. It's a really interesting conversation. And then we'll wrap up with part 3, which is available right now as well. Thank you for being here. And as always, keep the lights on.
So when you think back, what are some of the first things you remember when you were waking up from a coma? What stands out?
I think the sensory, because my eyes were swollen shut, the first memories I have are sounds and smells, specifically the beeping, the smell of the oxygen, hands, like just feeling hands, and hearing voices, hearing my mom's voice, hearing my sister explaining things to me, hearing the doctors explaining things. A lot of the memories that I have at first aren't visual. It is the sound and the conversation that was being had. I do kind of remember using the whiteboards to communicate. I remember getting the breathing tube taken out, and that was so painful when they took it out, and I couldn't really talk at first, but then started to try to talk. And I just remember, everything hurt. I was like in a full body cast. I couldn't really swallow. The swallow tests were in the early days. Those were bad. In a neck collar. And like, how do you swallow when you're in a neck collar and they're tipping you up because you can't even sit up? Oh my gosh. And even just being wheeled everywhere. I had a craniotomy as a very common procedure. And so there were parts of my skull that were out for a week, 2 weeks. So then it's another procedure back to back. And so then they're like, you have to wear a helmet everywhere you go during that time. And then every bump they roll over in the hospital is like, because there's still therapies and stuff, but it's like you're not leaving the bed. So then they're rolling you around. The hospital that I was at was a children's hospital, but it was connected to an adult hospital, and I had to have one of my procedures in the adult hospital. So they like wheeled me all the way from one side to the other.
I never knew getting on and off an elevator was so painful. The poor girl,
the rumble
broke
strips.
My heart.
Oh, yeah.
Because every one of those little bumps, excruciating pain for her.
With the neck fractures, the skull fractures, and the back thoracic fractures, everything just hurt all the time.
It's just so sad. I mean, I know our family went through this, and I know other families go through this. And every single time that I think about these situations, especially for young people, it's just so unfair. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's just bad luck, and it was your bad luck, and it was my son's bad luck. But dang it, if I wish it hadn't happened to you, MacKenzie. Yeah. So part of the podcast, the real focus for your mom and I is to talk about the glimmers, where we found light, beauty, joy, or comedy early on. And you said a few minutes ago that having your mom with you was so important. Can you talk about the things that she did that were really positive to you, if that was holding your hand or brushing your hair or singing to you, the kind of things that you remember bringing you a lot of comfort?
I think the holding my hand, the physical touch was really important because of my eyes being swollen shut, but also because even after that, with the fractured neck and being in the neck collar, and I didn't have any range of motion, and so I couldn't see my peripherals, and so it did always allow me to feel that somebody was there. And physical touch also just helped me ground myself when I started to get feeling back in my limbs. And it does even now. Even when I was in labor a couple months ago, it's like, okay, that is a very grounding technique in situations like that. I think because of some of those strategies that were implemented during that time of just like stroke back and forth, even on the arms, of just physical touch specifically. What else? I think explaining what's going to happen next and what's going on, because it is scary when you wake up and you're stuck in this hospital. It's even scarier when you can't look around at what's happening. You can't look to your left or right. You can't get up and down. You can see what's in your frame, and that's it. You can't see anything outside of your frame. And when there's so many different people coming in and out, there's just a lot going on. So I think constantly explaining what's happening or who's coming in, what's going to happen next, who's touching me, this person's coming on this side, this person's going to come around the top. They lied to me sometimes, but I understand why. I was very particular about things, and obviously I wanted my mom to do everything. My mom didn't always want to do everything. It was a lot of pressure on her. Everybody has to, caregivers have to make the best decisions.
So here's the thing, Erin. She had a fractured C2. Google it. It's not good.
It's not good.
They had to change out her neck braces. And of course, this is very traumatic. So she didn't trust other people touching her neck. Somebody had to hold her neck. Somebody had to take the brace from underneath. Somebody had to replace it. Well, her eyes were swollen shut. So she didn't know who was where. And so, yes, I'm putting it out there for the world to know. I lied to her and I told her I was the one holding her neck. I couldn't do it. I was scared to death. I didn't want to be the one to break her neck. Let a stranger do it. I couldn't break my kid's neck. So yes, I would act like I was back there, act like I was holding the neck. I would do all the talk through stuff. It wasn't me.
You had a surrogate parent in that moment, MacKenzie, doing that job.
And now as an
commend you.
adult, I understand where she's coming from. And I obviously had a lot of pressure on my mom, but I just didn't trust anyone else.
We would have to do a lot of slowing people down because
Yes.
in the hospital,
You know how they are.
they come in. She needed information.
Yeah.
She needed time to process. She needed to make her whereabouts known. It was probably 2 weeks your eyes were swollen shut. Close to it.
I started to be able to pull them open for short periods of time.
Yeah. And then after that, her vision wasn't
Great patch.
Oh, I forgot about the eye
So then
patch.
I wore the eye patch for a while.
We needed people to slow down. We needed to make sure she knew who everybody was, what they were doing, have her process the information,
If they
ask
were
any
gonna touch
questions.
me, the touch was a big thing. Like, I need to know if you're going to touch me. Is that going to hurt? Are you going to move me? Are you going to move my body?
And she had paralysis on the left side of her body. That was starting to come back. So slowing people down. And I think if we can give some little tips to caregivers, don't be afraid to slow people down and say, hey, we need more information. Who else is going to have to be in the room for this? And there were times where we had to have additional people brought into the room or certain nurses brought into the room for certain movements or procedures.
Thank you for being here for part 2. We appreciate you joining us for this conversation with MacKenzie. She's so incredible. We very much appreciated having perspective on what it's like to not be able to advocate for yourself, and happy that MacKenzie had somebody as strong as Amanda in her corner, and grateful that she was willing to share that experience with us. Please join us again for part 3, which is available at this very time. And as always, please like or subscribe. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, or anywhere else that you can get podcasts, or our website, neuromomscollective.org. As always, keep looking for those glimmers and keep the lights on. Thanks.